Is it better to ferment in a bucket or a carboy? Is it better to do secondary in a bucket or a carboy? Today, we'll look at the pros and cons of both. So buckets or carboys? As a home brewer, you should have both. Generally, but not always, we ferment in a bucket and do secondary in a carboy. The reason you want to ferment in a bucket is because when you put 5 gallons in here, there is a lot of headspace on top. And a fermentation builds a big layer of foam on top of the must. Now, if you had that in your carboy, that foam would have nowhere to go except up in a little bitty top and out through your airlock. Now you've got a mess everywhere. And the reason we like to do secondary and bulk aging in a carboy is because a carboy is a perfectly sealed system. Well, as perfect as you can get. Once you put that bung and airlock on top, nothing is going in and nothing is going out, except through your airlock. A bucket, on the other hand, doesn't seal very well. You can get lids with a little gasket inside, but the vast majority of buckets and lids don't have that gasket. They don't seal very well. Now you can ferment in a carboy and you can secondary in a bucket. It's not unheard of, and 9 times out of 10 you'll be just fine. But it's just safer to ferment in a bucket and do bulk aging and secondary in a carboy. Whenever I'm finished with a carboy, I like to rinse it out, sanitize it, and put a little piece of tin foil on top. Keeps bugs out and dirt out. Another pro tip I have is a little wire right here. Now, these bungs can sometimes slip out of the carboy, especially if you use star sand. Star sand makes them very slippery. This little piece of wire right here, you can wrap it around, make it nice and tight, and wrap it up. It'll keep the bung in there. Some of the pros of using a bucket is that large amount of headspace that we talked about a little earlier. It's also easier to add things or remove things in a bucket. If you're adding fruit to your mead, for example, you can put all your fruit in a mesh bag, put it in there, do your thing, and then take it out after. Saves all that messy business during racking. What is pro and con short for? Another pro of using a bucket is that it holds more. When you transfer to secondary, you want to minimize headspace as much as possible. The more headspace you have, the more surface area, the more chance of oxidation. So if you're fermenting in a bucket, you can do 5.5 gallons or 6 gallons, and then when you transfer to your carboy, you can top it off all the way to the top, or almost all the way to the top. Minimal headspace. Another pro of a bucket is it's easier to carry. It's got this handle thing. Easier to clean, and it's unbreakable. Well, I say it's unbreakable. A few drawbacks of using a bucket is that it's made out of plastic, and plastic is very abrasive. You're going to be cleaning these a lot with all your scratch pads and your rags or whatever, and slowly but surely over time you're going to put scratches all inside this bucket, sometimes microscopic scratches. And those scratches are safe havens for bacteria to hide and grow and thrive. And as we talked about earlier, a bucket doesn't seal, so if you're long-term aging in here, you might get something in there that you don't want in there. And also with these buckets, removing the lid is hard, and when you're about to rack mead out of here, you're going to have that little layer of trub in the bottom. Pulling the lid off and doing all this, and it's going to disturb that little trub and mix some of it back into solution, and you're going to rack that into your bottle or into secondary. Some of the pros of the carboy we've already talked about. Minimal headspace, almost perfect seal. It's also see-through. You can see your ferment. And it's made out of glass. You can scratch and scrub and do your thing with this all you want. You're not going to put any micro scratches, or well, I'm sure it can happen, but much less likely than with a bucket. And a carboy looks cooler. You feel like a mad scientist sometimes when you ferment in one of these. Some of the drawbacks of a carboy is that they can be somewhat hard to clean. If you got some sort of sticky something inside there, you're gonna have to get like a long brush and stick inside there, and it can be a pain sometimes. And they're heavy, and they're made out of glass. They're breakable. I'm just kidding. I put pillows down there, and that was a sound effect I added in post. And that is everything that I have to talk about today. That was kind of short. I'm going to stand here and stare into the camera for about 10 minutes. So the video is longer than 3 minutes. Just kidding. Thank you for watching Mead with Eric and Derek. We hope you have as much fun watching us as we have making this.
Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and the notification bell so you're notified each time we upload.
And join the Discord, where more than 1,000 mead makers are always there to help you make better mead. Everything we talked about today is available from More Beer. Now, we are affiliated with More Beer. We may make a small commission on sales at no extra cost to you. It helps support the channel and helps us bring more content to you.
Links are in the description down below.
See you next time.